Hi! In today's tutorial, we are going to study about renaming columns using pandas. So, let's go! So firstly, let me import my pandas library over here, and here is my data frame. Let's have a look at it. So, it's a data frame containing employee names, which department they belong to, and their corresponding salaries. Now, firstly, let me have a look at my column names using a function called columns. So, if I write something like df.columns, I can see that this gives me the list of column names for this data set, which is name, department and salary. So suppose our objective is that I want to rename this column name and my new column name would be employee space name. Then I will use something like .rename. So I'll write df.rename and now I'll specify something like, because rename function can be used to rename indices and columns both. So I'll write something like columns equal to. Now, as a syntax of rename, what we provide here is a dictionary. Now, in this dictionary, the keys are the old column name. So, over here, my old column name is name. And the value corresponding to is the new column name which I want to provide. So, my new column name is employee space name. So, that's how I will write. So to summarize, using the .rename function, we can rename both index as well as column. So here to rename a column, I am specifying columns equal to, and as a dictionary, we provide the old name as the key and the new column name as the value. So this is my key value pair over here. And notice, as a result, we are getting this employee name as a new column name. And we can store it in a new data frame like this. So if we look at df2 now, so here employee name is there. Similarly, if I want to add a new key value pair, what I can do, I can just write a comma and suppose let's say instead of salary, I want to rename it as salaries. So I can add a new key value pair here as a. So let me run it like this. And now we can see it's employee name and salaries. But if you notice here, if we run df, then no change has happened here. What if instead of renaming and creating a new data set, if I want to make the change in the original data set, how do I do it? Then in that situation, I can write something like comma inplace equal to true. Inplace parameter defines that, okay, don't create a new data set, but rather make the changes in the original data set. So if I run this code, I don't need to write df2 equal to. I can just simply make the change in original data frame. And now, if I view my df, see that it has made the change of employee space name and salaries in the original data frame. So currently, our data frame looks something like this. Now, what if instead of changing only some of the column names, we want to change all of them? Then there is option 1, that is we can provide a list of dictionaries and then provide the names. There is another alternative using the .columns method. So here, if I write df.columns, I can see my names are employee name, department and salaries. So I can write something like df.columns equal to, and now I can assign the new names. But notice here we have to be careful, that is my names will be corresponding to the original order. Suppose if I am writing name over here, then it will replace the first column name over here, that is the 0th column name over here. Similarly, if I am writing, let's say I want to keep department as departments and instead of salaries I want salary. So employee name will be replaced by name, department will be replaced by departments and salaries would be replaced by salary. If I accidentally switch the order, that is if I write salary, departments or name, then it will keep the same order what I am writing. It is not intelligent enough to understand. So if I have a look at my df, then notice it has given the correct names. That is, first is name, second is departments, the third is salary. Many a times people want to rename their column names by converting them to lowercase. I can write something like df.columns equal to df.columns. Now I can use the lowercase function, for which I am using the string library and then I am writing .lower. So let's firstly see what does it do. If I write something like this, then it's returning all the column names in lowercase. And now I can assign it to df.columns, and then in this case it will be replacing the names. And now if I look at the df, notice all the column names are in lowercase. Similarly, many a times it happens that in the column names there is a space and people want to replace that space by an underscore. Then how do we do it? Although I don't have any names over here which are having any spaces, but the code for writing it is df.columns.str.replace. Now if I want to replace a space with this, with the underscore, then I will write quote space quote. It means I want to replace a space and I want to replace it with quote underscore quote. So here I am replacing a space with an underscore. And if I run this thing, currently no change has happened because in my data frame there was no column where there was a space. But if there was any, it would have worked. And I'll here write it like df.columns equal to. And when we look at our df, the space would have been replaced by an underscore. So that was all about renaming the columns using pandas. Do let us know in the comments below how did you find this tutorial. Until then, see you soon.